Good afternoon, and welcome to the Idaho Falls City Club's program for November. Today we have Rob Spears, who is the Executive Director of the Idaho Auditorium District. I'm Lexi French, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Idaho Falls City Club. As probably many of you know, the City Club was formed several years ago with the purpose of bringing to the audience in Idaho Falls and surrounding communities pertinent discussions and ideas and speakers that everyone wants to know about. But we decided that even though there are speakers and questions and discussions that we may explain, they will also maybe be challenged and questioned. So the City Club decided that we would make sure that these discussions and questions were always directed and engaged in a civil manner, with fair discourse, with fairness and politeness to all. I think we've been very successful in doing this type of information program. We'd like to thank all of our members and all the people who have followed us for so many years. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, the Bank of Idaho, the Idaho Humanities Council, KISU, the University of Idaho, Raymond James, and the Idaho National Lab. City Club, like all different clubs and organizations and workplaces in the last year and a half, have faced challenges. And as a board, we ask, how can we still bring quality programs to the community when we really can't meet in person? And actually, something very special happened. One of our board members, Mr. Chad Hammond, offered to facilitate and film our programs at IE Productions. And Chad has been wonderful to help us all through this hard time, and I think we've been very successful with it. So Chad, we want to thank you. You can either access our program today on our Facebook page, City Club of Idaho Falls, or through IE Productions' YouTube page. Also, KISU will rebroadcast it on their 91.3, and you can visit kisu.org to find out what time the broadcast will be. Our next program will be on Friday, December 10th. It will be Dr. John Wagner, who is head of the Idaho National Laboratory and president of Battelle Alliance. We have scheduled this program here at IE Productions, and if there are any changes to this program, we will let you know through our Facebook page, our website, our email list, or the print ad in the Post Register. We're working and making decisions every day about how we are going to proceed, but we will make sure that you, our audience and our members and our guests, will know. Now I would like to introduce to you the moderator of our this program. It is Greg Crocker, who is president of the board of the City Club of Idaho Falls. Greg is no stranger to those of you in Idaho Falls. He has practiced law here for over 40 years, and his expertise and legal prowess are known all over the state. Not only is Greg active in his profession, but Greg has been very, very active in the city of Idaho Falls through Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, downtown development, and unfailing support of arts and education. Indeed, Greg is one of the first citizens of Idaho Falls. So we will welcome him, and he will tell you more about the presentation today and facilitate your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lexi. Gosh, those are inspiring words. I hope I can live up to them. Again, my name is Greg Crocker, and we're very happy to present the program we are today, to give you an update on what is now known as the Mountain America Credit Union Idaho Falls Event Center. For many of us, including me, this is the realization of a dream for this community of over 30 years. We made an initial try to organize an auditorium district to do an event center way back in the 80s. And so many of us have followed this idea. We finally did get the auditorium district, and guess what? Now we're going to have an event center, and you should see the progress. Actually, it's rising above the ground as we speak. And for many of you, I do invite you to go out there and take a look at it. It's at Snake River Landing. You enter Snake River Landing to Snake River Boulevard and then turn off on Event Center Drive, aptly named. Follow the chain link fences to Pioneer Road, and you can pretty much circumnavigate the construction site and see the progress to date. It's pretty amazing. And it's rising in a hurry. I know it's going to be some time because this is a big construction project, but it is well underway. So it is my pleasure today, and by the way, I'm going to introduce Rob Spear, Executive Director of the Idaho Falls Auditorium District, who is making our presentation today. We will want to ask Rob the hard questions, and if you have a question for Rob, please put that in, send that question to us via the internet on the comment section of your feed. So please do that. We look forward to receiving and addressing the questions that are course of interest to our audience members. Rob Spear, forget the S, it's Spear. Rob comes to us from the University of Idaho. He was appointed Executive Director of the Idaho Falls Auditorium District in April of 2019. Rob comes to us with over 30 years of experience. Rob is a proven administrator who has a track record of successful fundraising, strategic planning, and facility development. He's just the kind of person we need on this project. Rob earned his doctorate degree from the University of Idaho. He holds an MBA from the University of Montana and an undergraduate in business from College of Great Falls, now known as the University of Providence. Rob and his wife Sandy have a daughter Morgan who lives in Austin, Texas. I've been very happy to welcome Rob to our community from the University of Idaho. I guess this is an opportunity to plug in Go Vandals. Please help me welcome Rob Spear.
Greg, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And Lexi, thank you for acknowledging IE Productions and what they do for this community. It's simply fabulous to have Chad and his group allow us to connect back to the community in this manner. So today I want to provide you a lot of different information about the Auditorium District, how we got to where we are today, and where we're going. So first of all, I need to really thank our IFAD board members here, and you can see them listed on the screen. Terry Gazik is our chair, does a wonderful job. Steve Vukovic, our vice chair, Bob Nitschke, board member, Mike Carpenter, board member, and Ron Warnicki, board member. They're really the reason that we've been able to move forward here, because they are a board that's active, they get engaged, and they are working on your behalf as the community of Idaho Falls. So a little bit of background on auditorium districts, and I'm sure some of this may be redundant, but I think it's pretty important. There's 3 auditorium districts in the state of Idaho, one in Boise, one in Pocatello, and of course the one here in Idaho Falls. All these entities are considered governmental subdivisions of the state of Idaho, and statutorily we are allowed to levy and collect a 5% transient room tax on all hotels, motels, and other short-term rentals in the area. One thing I do want to point out here, and I think this is one of the biggest misperceptions here, is certainly when I came into this position, is that so many people thought that the auditorium district had an impact on property taxes, and that's not true. We don't have that ability. We do not impact property taxes. As a matter of fact, the only way you as a community member would support the auditorium district is if you stayed in a short-term rental or a hotel in the area and paid the 5% room tax. So as Greg mentioned, he's been very actively involved in this, and so fortunately in 2011, the Idaho Falls Auditorium District was formed. So a little bit about what the Mountain America Center is. It's, Greg mentioned, located out there on 22 acres in Snake River Landing, and we'll talk about our partner there, Ball Ventures, who graciously donated that property to the district so we could build this facility. Seating capacity can be up to 6,000, probably be about 4,100 for a hockey event, but when you have a center concert, we could probably get that up to about 6,000 people. The most unique thing about this auditorium district and this facility is if you look at this rendering and you look at the lower left corner, you can see a separate entryway. That's an entryway into what is now called the Blue Cross of Idaho Conference Facility. It is going to provide a much needed conference space to the community. It's going to be about 11,000 square feet of conference space. You'll be able to break that out into 5 different meeting rooms, the multi-purpose event center inside, and when I get later on in the presentation, you'll see why it is truly a multi-purpose event center. But we'll be able to actually expand in there. I know the board was very adamant about making sure that space inside the facility was flexible enough to be able to break it out into smaller sections. So we hope to have a really robust and vibrant conference space here for the city of Idaho Falls in this community. We'll have great premium seats in this facility, 12 corporate suites, 12 loge boxes. It'll have all the amenities that you would see in a big arena. So moving forward, some of the activities and events. First thing that's very important, the district did a lot of work. The district went out and did numerous feasibility studies and made sure they had the right information before they proceeded forward. And the most recent feasibility study said that the Mountain America Center on an annual basis is going to reach 120,000 people. And that's significant. And I really think, looking at the events that we have planned and the activities, that might be a little low. But the feasibility study said it's going to impact 120,000 people on an annual basis. We'll have different events, community outreach events, certainly focused around the science, technology, engineering, and math, which is so critical in the state of Idaho, so critical in Idaho Falls. Community awareness events, information events, science fairs, health safety conferences, industry expos, trade shows, professional conferences, again, utilizing that conference space and spilling over into the event center itself. And then, of course, the sporting events. As I mentioned, hockey seating. Hockey will be the anchor tenant in this facility. We are going to start with an NA3HL hockey program team. It is a junior hockey league. Kids are aged 16 to 18, maybe 20. They have aspirations of getting a college scholarship or actually moving and getting drafted professionally. So I think you're going to see a very quality hockey program. And that's one of the things we wanted to start with NA3HL, and we aspire to have a true minor league hockey team at some point in time in the future. Rodeo, the facility is going to be able to accommodate rodeo. And then the court sports. And I think that's very important, especially here in eastern Idaho. I think it's critical that we're able to attract high school state tournaments and bring them to eastern Idaho. Right now, everything seems to be situated in Boise. And so now we'll have a facility where we'll be able to attract these high school events and these championship events. Certainly concerts, especially entertainment. You look at the ability to have something like Cirque du Soleil, Disney on Ice, comedy acts, and there's certainly musical groups that will come in. And then finally, the banquet, again, community program. So as you see, as I mentioned earlier, truly a multi-use event center that is going to really cater to the needs of this community. And I think as this thing grows and we get operational, that I think we'll find our niche and we'll find some things that this community really supports. One of the key things in there that's probably not up, but probably ties into those sporting events are what they call in the industry evergreen events. Hunting expositions, fishing expositions, things of that nature that are so important to our community and where we're located. So, and then those corporate events. So this is an interesting little picture here I brought to you today, and it says, making the event center a reality. And so, as you know, we started this in 2011, and you come in and you do an evaluation and you look at it, and it's kind of that ladder on the right. We had a path, we knew the direction, the goal was to build a multi-purpose event center, but it just appeared that maybe we were missing a few rungs on the ladder. And so we had to coming together and working together with our board. Our board was very strategic, and so now we're to that image on the left where we actually added some rungs to the ladder and we position ourselves to get to the top and progress in a responsible step-by-step manner. So what do I mean by that? We needed to create certainty in some areas. So first of all, a big thing was creating certainty in regards to what I always call early construction. So the photo on your left shows the property that's starting to be developed, and again, it was a virgin piece of ground. It needed a lot of work. There were certainly some geotechnical studies developed and established, but we still didn't have a great feel for what the cost was to fully develop this land and get it to where we can actually do construction, because the picture on the right, a lot of lava rock on that site. We had to remove some of the lava rock, and then there were certain what they called some uncertain soils, or soils there that were unsuitable soils is the right word, where you can see on that image the dark spot. And that was an area that was saturated with water because part of this land was agricultural and it had been irrigated. And so, as part of this, getting this land prepared for vertical construction, we had to remove all that unsuitable soil. So early construction was really important. The board strategically made the decision to embark on early construction before we even did any vertical construction. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about that. The other thing is, we never had what it was truly going to cost to build this facility. And so we entered into a construction manager, general contractor agreement with Bateman Hall Hogan. They've been awesome. They put together a final guaranteed maximum price. So this was, what is it truly going to cost? And this guaranteed maximum price really reflects all the different categories within a bid. Your HVAC, your mechanical, your seating, your concrete work. And so there's roughly about 44 different bid packages within this guaranteed maximum price. So we went out and got a firm number in early 2020, and that number came in at $50,250,000. And so we thought, we're right in the ballpark. That's a solid number that we needed. And then, of course, what happened? COVID hit. And unfortunately, COVID came about, and what it did to our impact revenues was significant. And you can see here on this slide, point out that we have 2019 in the blue, 2020 in the orange, and then 2021 where we're at right now. So you can see we were trending along quite nicely in December, January, February of 2020. And then March, COVID hits, and then you look at what happened in April and May and June. And so what it meant is there was no way we could move forward with construction. Even though we had a bid, couldn't move forward with it because of the uncertainty with our revenues and what COVID was going to mean. So an interesting thing happened, though, as we progressed through the year, and I would just take your eyes to September, October, November of 2019, and you can see, 2020. And you can see in September, we started to rise a little bit, actually started in August, getting closer to that 2019 number. And then October, we're really close to the 2019 number. And then we thought, now's the time to see, because things are coming back, if we can't get financing for this project. So then in November, you'll see where we're actually higher than 2019. There's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's, again, bringing certainty to this project. And it had to do with getting all the revenue owed to the district from some of the third-party marketplace facilitators, Airbnbs, Hotel.com, etc. So we finally started collecting that. So what we ended up doing here, again in late 2020, early 2021, is we went out and got another guaranteed maximum price because the one we had expired. And so a lot of people would go, well, are you crazy? Why are you building now? There's so much uncertainty, and you have supply chain issues, and construction costs are going to be really high. And so we thought that we found the right window to go out on the street and rebid this. And I think we did, because the final guaranteed maximum price, which might surprise people, in 2021 was only $143,000 more than it was in 2020. So right there, the board realized we need to act, we need to move on this project, we need to make sure that we can start construction, because nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. And everybody knows the construction's not going to get cheaper. So anyway, finally got another, what I thought was a very favorable GMP. And then partnering with the State Tax Commission on that slide where it shows that we had more revenue in 2020 in November than we did in 2019. That's because we are able to get the State Tax Commission to go out and identify and make these third-party marketplace facilitators register with the state. Again, Airbnb, Hotel.com, VRBO. And so we started collecting our fair share of revenue from that, a really important step, and unfortunately a piece of revenue the district was probably missing out on in the past. The other thing was finally, you have identified the early construction, you know what those costs are, you have that in place. We started generating more revenue, and then we needed to know, well, how much can we finance? So we never knew that answer. Again, creating certainty, we went out, issued an RFP, we hired an underwriter, worked with that underwriter to figure out how much we could finance. That underwriter went out on the street, found a couple investors, with the board negotiated with a couple different investors, and we were finally able to get a financing package in place. So, and then the other unknown was, who's going to operate this facility? The district was established to build the facility, but who is going to operate it? And so one thing we did is the board issued an RFP, and we selected an operator called Centennial Management. Centennial Management, you may be not so much familiar, but you will be in a moment. The Centennial Management is a organization under the Elmore Sports Group. The Elmore Sports Group has about 8 minor league baseball teams and a minor league hockey team that they oversee. One of the minor league baseball teams is the Idaho Falls Chuckers. And so it was really neat to have that company that's part of that organization come, and they're going to operate the facility. They currently run the facility, the Maverick Center down in West Valley, Utah, and they're experienced. They're going to be the right fit here in Idaho Falls. They have their own concessionaire called Diamond Concessions, so we ended up having to find an operator. Again, go through, have them issue us a pro forma. How are you going to operate it? Where are the revenues going to come from? What are the expenses going to be? Because we wanted to pay attention that we were going to be able to operate this facility, and the board would not have moved forward if we didn't have an understanding and a picture of a good pro forma, which we received from Centennial Management. And then finally, having all those numbers put together, we needed to close the financial gap because unfortunately our revenues that come in from the transient room tax would not be sufficient enough for us to be able to finance the whole entire cost of the project. So we had to go out and fundraise and close that financial gap, and boy, does this community step up. I mean, once we got going, of course, I mentioned Ball Ventures, who contributed the land. Mountain America Center was the big naming right partner for the entire facility. It is now called the Mountain America Center. The Hero Meat Snacks, Golden Valley Natural. It's going to be, the events inside are going to be at the Hero Arena at the Mountain America Center. Blue Cross of Idaho stepped up, named the conference room. T-Todd Auto Group and the Hernandez family stepped up, named the plaza in front of it. Bingham Healthcare took a section of seating. Pepsi and Admiral Beverage will have the pouring rights for this facility and also contribute to the construction. Mountain View and Idaho Community Hospitals contributed. They'll have their own seating section, as well as Cal Ranch. So very fortunate to have these main entities step up in a big way to help fund this project. And then you may recall early, I mentioned the 12 suites and the loge boxes. We've been very successful in selling the suites. As a matter of fact, we're contemplating right now taking the 2 extra suites that were going to be used on a nightly basis and talking about splitting those so we can create some more inventory. But you can see all of our suite holders: Cooper Norman, ICCU, Teton Wealth Management, Spudnik, Doug Andrews Distributing, Melaleuca, Mountain View Community Hospitals. You can read those lists there. And then loge boxes, again, very important contributors to this project because we asked to, hey, contribute to the construction and then purchase your loge or your suite on an annual basis. And then some of our other partners, CHC Foundation, the MDU Foundation, and most recently Watkins Distributing, who will have the pouring rights for all the non-alcoholic beverages in the facility. So I want to thank the community for stepping up because you're the reason this happened. We needed some extra money. We needed to bridge that gap, and you certainly stepped up in a big way. I always break down the construction project in really 3 phases. Phase 1, the district partnered with Ball Ventures to put in what is now called Event Center Drive. We needed a road through that facility to be able to access it from what is Snake River Parkway to Pioneer Road. We also needed to, again, we started to do all those underground, the site preparation, because there were so many unknowns with the unsuitable soils and the lava rock. And so that was phase 2, including putting in all the underground utilities. And then, of course, phase 3 that we're into right now, which is the actual vertical construction. So it's a little slide here just to show you the phases 1 and 2. The district, fortunately, we had resources to invest in this, and we invested $7 million. You can see where the investment went. $2.7 million was on that right side. That is where Event Center Drive really connects Pioneer Road and Snake River Parkway. The 2.7 in the middle is certainly the building pad and all the underground utilities and all the light pole bases, making sure we had this site ready to go for vertical construction. And then the 1.6 million on the road was for Pioneer Road. The district had an obligation as part of the development agreement that we inherited that we needed to improve Pioneer Road from that intersection of Event Center Drive to the corner there, and we did that. We fulfilled our obligation and certainly made that road, I think, a little safer actually. But this was, phase 1 and 2 here, a big step for the board to make, because and what this did is took a lot of the uncertainty out about what those costs might be for the site development and preparation. And then, of course, now here's a picture that actually is a little drone video I'm going to play for you here. This has a lot of information with this snapshot. A couple really important pieces here. But this is where we were as of Wednesday of this week. And Greg mentioned this thing is really going quick. A lot of work had been done prior to this, because if you will look on this slide in this picture, you can see these flat slabs on what I would say the kind of the northwest side, and then the southeast side, and then of course on the very bottom there you can see those are where the wall preparation started. It's a tilt-up wall process, and so all the walls are formed on the ground and then they're tilted in place. A very significant process, and one that we broke ground in May, and fortunately we started raising walls in October. So a lot of work had been done prepping this facility to get those walls in place. So let's take a little view here of the drone flying over the site as we know it today. A lot of steel preparation going on there. What you're seeing now, the roofed-in area, is called the back of the house. It's where your offices, locker rooms, convention space will be. And then by the end of the month, we hope we have all the other walls tilted up around the entire facility as we move forward. Again, great location. You're right there on I-15. There's something like 26,000 impressions a day of vehicles, traffic coming through here. Next slide, just a little bit about the tilt-up wall. I think this is a really neat thing to observe and watch. Again, on the very left, you can see these thin brick that were snapped into brick liners, getting ready for the walls, and each one of those are sectioned off. Each one of those walls, by the way, weighs about 50 plus tons. So when they're put into place, it's a significant amount of work. There's 2 concrete pours per slab. The first one goes on top of what you see on the left. It's called your architectural pour. And then what happens, you put your insulation down, then put in all your rebar, which is in the middle, which is your structural piece. And then there's a structural pour that goes on top of the section in the middle. And what you end up with is something on the right. This was a prototype that they did in preparation to see what these tilt walls would look like. And so, again, significant, 107 of these panels. We have roughly 65% of them up, so 214 concrete pours. So a lot of concrete is being used on this site. I mentioned COVID, and that was certainly a concern of ours. Didn't know how we would move forward. It caused a lot of anxiety, a little bit of grief, but it did allow us to take a step back in regards to the HVAC capabilities of this event center. And I think this is a really neat thing that the board did. We thought we had an opportunity because we lost a year in the bid process, and the air handling units that were designed for this facility are no longer available. So we had to go back, essentially redesign those. And so as part of the redesign process, we said, how can we make this facility really safe, given that we're going to probably live with COVID forever? And one of the things here that's very important is this, the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers, ASHRAE, says that outdoor air ventilation to be the primary strategy for controlling spread of infectious pathogens. So what that means is you need to get as much outside air into the facility periodically and turn that air over as much as you can. So there's certainly some things here that the board adopted. We adopted 5 mitigation strategies. 3 of them are in direct relation here to the new HVAC units. And you can see here when I mention air exchanges per hour, that's how many times an hour can you get fresh outside air in the facility. So to put it in perspective for you, a hospital room, you have about 2 air exchanges per hour. The event center now is designed, the inside of it is designed to have almost 2 per hour. It's 1.9 per hour. That's pretty good. The conference space, look at that number, 3.8 air exchanges per hour. So again, we wanted to provide a safe environment. We increased the filtration system, increased the size, the thickness of that filter. Then the other interesting thing, number 3 there, is installing UVGI lights within the air handling units themselves. So when the air is recirculated through the facility, that these UVGI lights are able to actually zap some of these viral, fungal, and bacterial organisms. So again, really important feature in this event center because safety for the board is certainly a priority. And then moving on, from an operational standpoint, we're going to make sure we adopt these strategies. One of them is air flushing. So before an event, we'll flush the facility with outside air. After an event, we'll flush the facility with outside air. Now, obviously, you might ask the question, well, isn't that going to impact your utility costs? Probably a little bit, but I'd rather have a safe facility and, understand that the heating costs might go up in the winter and the air conditioning a little bit more in the summer. But air flushing is certainly a strategy we're going to adopt. And then surface cleaning, really have a robust surface cleaning activity when we wipe things down, both at the concession area, conference space, within the arena. So again, kudos to our board for having the foresight and the vision to go back and reevaluate the HVAC capabilities of this facility. Economic impacts, I think they're going to be great for this community, certainly as the feasibility studies we've had suggest 121 million over the next 10 years, 400 construction jobs, 130 new and full and part-time jobs, and then 160 event days. That ties in with that earlier number I talked about where it's 120,000 people will come through this facility any given year. We anticipate at least 160 event days. I personally think that's on the low end, but we're really excited to get this thing up and running to see just what type of events that this community is going to support. Couple We started construction May 2021, and we are hopeful. Now, we've had couple setbacks, a couple supply chain issues with brick, unfortunately. But at the end of October 2022 is the anticipated date right now. Now, we have a lot of work to make up. We're about 8 weeks behind. We need to have some cooperation with the weather. I know that's wishful thinking here in eastern Idaho, but if we could get some cooperation with the weather over the next 6 weeks, we might be able to make some of that up. And then depending on how early we can start in the actual bowl area in the spring will determine the timeliness of this facility. But we're very hopeful we're going to be able to deliver this to you by the end of October, beginning of November in some capacity, because it's really important that we are able to open up and be available for the first hockey season. It'd be remiss if I didn't ask here to help be part of a community legacy, help create this community legacy. We still have several significant naming opportunities available. We have 6 loge boxes that are still available for sale. You could get a personalized seat, $750, get your name on a seat in perpetuity. You could buy a brick where you can have your name displayed in perpetuity. Again, becoming a community legacy. And if none of those things work for you, buy season tickets for hockey. I know Kevin Green and Paul Henderson have been working extremely hard. They've sold a number of hockey tickets already, season tickets. As a matter of fact, last count, I think they're approaching 700 season tickets already sold. So there's a great anticipation for a hockey team in this community. And with that, Greg, I thank you for the opportunity to be before you today and talk a little bit about the project in the Auditorium District. So thank you very much. happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Rob. That was a very interesting and informative presentation. And I'm just, I hope our audience is thrilled as I am to see this come to fruition. And it is. Let me start off by asking you kind of a personal question. And obviously, it's a big job here. What of your personal experience and background prepares you to take this on?
Well, great question, Greg. You know, I thought that the biggest motivator for me was being able to be involved in something that's never been done before. And so that's a really neat thing. And so not many people in their careers have the opportunity to be involved in something that, you know, was never done and may never be done again. So that was a motivating factor. And when I looked at the needs of the district and what they were looking for, you know, from facility planning and having tough jobs and staying the course and fundraising and really creating those additional rungs in the ladder that I talked about. So I thought, you know, my experiences fit that, and that's why I'm here today.
Well, tell us something specific that you've done previously in your previous life that, you know, is comparable.
Well, a lot. You know, you mentioned University of Idaho. I was up there for 29 years and did a, you know, last count, I think I was involved in 5 or 6 major facility projects that were comprehensive, that involved renovating old facilities and establishing new facilities. Recently, you know, we talked the other day, they just opened up the new arena on the University of Idaho campus. I was actively involved in that for 15 years and put together, I can't tell you how many plans, how many strategies to get that thing done. So my experiences in regard to facility planning and fundraising and putting together the right strategies, you know, I guess I would go back to that and give you some specific examples.
Thank you, Rob. I think that is a very good specific example. I don't know if I happen to be an alumni of the University of Idaho and pay attention to what's going on up there, but they've just recently built the Idaho Central Credit Union Arena. It's a remarkable piece of architecture and characterized by the fact that it's all wood. And boy, does that ever play into the heritage of that northern Idaho location. Rob, another personal question. You spent all that time in northern Idaho. How are you and your wife, Sandy, acclimating to our community?
Well, we love it. You know, we're both Montana natives, and I was born and raised just up the road in Butte, Montana, and my mother and father still live there, so one thing got me a little closer. My wife's from the Great Falls area, so we have an appreciation for eastern Idaho, southwest Montana. But we're enjoying it very much, Greg. You know, we purchased a home here. We live out on Fairway Estates, and we feel part of the community. And the thing that strikes us all the time is how much growth is happening in this community and how much foresight this community has. And it's just very special to see that and be part of it. And again, both Sandy and I feel very fortunate to be here and be involved in this event center because we can see the need for it and see how critical of a piece that's going to be for the community as this community continues to grow and move forward. So long answer to your question other than to say we love it. We do. We're happy to be here and happy to be part of the community.
Well, let me just add, Rob, I think we're very happy to have you and your wife, Sandy, here, and I think we're very fortunate to have your expertise applied to this facility. Some people in the community really want to know whether this facility is going to be available for youth hockey, which is very, very popular in Idaho Falls.
Absolutely. I became aware very early on when I moved to Idaho Falls of how robust the hockey program is here with both youth hockey and adult hockey. And I had the opportunity early on to visit with the heads of both of those organizations and quietly got educated on how the lack of ice time in this community. So we are very fortunate to, we've talked to our operators, some tenant management, and there is certainly going to be some ice time dedicated for youth and adult hockey as well as public skating as well. And we want to make sure that we partner with our city and Toffus Park to make sure that we coordinate and that we just maximize the use of 2 rinks in this community. So excited to be able to deliver that part of it to the community as well. And, as the hockey representative told me, they were adamant. They said, if you build this, we could have a hockey tournament here every weekend of the year. Now, obviously, we'll have other events, but I think the neat thing is we're going to have hockey tournaments here, and we're going to have more than 1 or 2, probably have 5, 6, or 7. And so it's about time that our hockey players in Eastern Idaho can sleep in their own bed before they go play a game. Up to this point, they had to travel significantly. So, yes.
This viewer would like to have you comment on any sustainability practices being exercised during constructions and operation, specifically stuff like energy efficiency, recycling, reduction of plastics, etc.
Well, I wish I could tell you it was an absolute green building. It's not absolutely green, but I know a lot of the construction practices that are taken by Bateman Hall Hogan, making sure it's efficient. As far as being energy efficient, yes, that's one of the things when we reevaluate and as when you're building a project of this magnitude, you're always going to involve and engage a lot of consultants. You're going to have your mechanical consultants, your HVAC consultants, and they are not going to recommend a facility that's not going to be energy efficient and not operate efficiently. So, as I mentioned with the HVAC improvements that we've made to this facility, it's going to be significant. When we get it open, we're going to make sure that Centennial Management works and do the right thing from a recycling standpoint. And so all that being said is we're going to do our fair share to make sure that this facility meets the need of the community.
Thank you. We are getting questions coming online. Among our audience, this person wants to know, do you or your board anticipate that we would outgrow this facility? What future expansion plans are on the books?
The board, as I mentioned earlier, did a lot of work and had a lot of feasibility studies, and the feasibilities always came back and recommended this size facility for the community and thought it could be sustainable. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't think about future growth in the community. At this point in time, we haven't talked about how we might expand that or what we might do. I will tell you, though, that it's become very popular for musical groups and entities to play in a more of an intimate environment. So to say that we have plans for future expansion right now, we don't. I mean, the most important thing was to get this one built, but based on what I know and the feasibility studies, that this is, at the moment, the right size for the community.
Thank you, and it is going to be big. Let me give you this question. Do you anticipate, what would be the anticipated cost to rent the facility? I presume that means some of your conference areas that could be used for private business and stuff like that. Have you come up with any kind of cost estimates for its use?
Right now, we have not. And as I mentioned earlier, we've engaged with Centennial Management to operate the facility. They'll put together the right rate card. It'll be the right rate card for this area. They'll use their experience by running the Maverick Center down in West Valley, but we don't have any rate cards yet. The most important thing, we'll have more information here as we get closer to our planned opening. And the rule of thumb is you really engage with the operator about 10 to 12 months out from opening. So we have a big date. December 15th is a date that we're going to really look at closely and figure out when it's going to be open. And then what we will do is make sure we enter into what we call pre-opening services costs for the facility. And that's where we're actually paying the operator to start planning and putting together that information you just asked.
Thank you. You kind of mentioned a little bit about this previously, but this is a big construction project, $50 million. What kind of, again, supply chain problems you've encountered or anticipate? And the same question with respect to workforce availability. I mean, we're seeing workforce shortages throughout our economy. It's a big problem. So,
I mentioned the one supply chain issue that we had. The board did a very strategic thing early on, and it was maybe a little bit of a risk to take this, but we had sufficient funds in our bank account, so we pre-ordered steel, we pre-ordered concrete. We got ahead of those supply chain issues. Didn't think brick would be one that would slow us up. But moving forward, the good news is all your steel, all your decking is already on site. We understand in some of our areas there's longer lead times for ordering, but we're on top of that. And again, I go back to Bateman Hall Hogan. Bateman Hall partnered with Hogan Construction. They're really our construction manager on the project. They're experienced. They understand this. They have connections. They do quality work. And because of that, they're hiring quality subcontractors. And those subcontractors, knock on wood, up to this point, I have not seen any labor shortages from their end. And so we hope that we can continue that trend. The other thing, when it opens up, hiring the right staff is going to be really, really important. And I hope by then, we'll have a little bit better employment pool. But I think this is such a unique facility, we're going to attract a good workforce.
thank you. Well, that was actually the next question, and that was the service industry is having a very tough time hiring service people. So I think this question is asking the same question you've just addressed with respect to when this facility gets operational. How many employees do you anticipate? What kind of a labor staff is it going to take?
Yeah, the initial, I would say full-time permanent employees will probably be about 10 or 12, and then you're going to have a lot of different temporary employees that will work events, work in the custodial area. If you look to remember the information I gave in one of those slides, it said 130 full and part-time employees this event center is going to create. Now, not all at the event center site, but we think at any given time, we'll probably have between, I mentioned the 10 or 12 permanent employees, and then, upwards of probably 25 part-time employees. And then certainly you're going to have your different service workers operating the concession areas as well. So I would say this, I know Centennial Management's a quality operator, and I think good companies attract good people. So that's one of the reasons we selected Centennial Management, is their ability to staff their facilities accordingly. So, we'll wait and see, but I'm optimistic that we've hired the right people, and I think, good people go work for good people, and I think we have good people associated with this Mountain America Center.
Thank you, Rob. You've exhausted the questions from our audience today, except for the question about whether or not there will be opportunities for arts and entertainment other than what you've talked about. This person seems to be interested in whether or not we're going to go beyond sports.
Yeah, I think, when I look back, I want to focus on 160 event days, that number. I think 20% of those event days are really related to sports, and the rest, the 80%, is other activities. But as far as the arts and entertainment, I think it's really important that this event center partner with some of the existing very successful organizations here. And I'll just throw this out. I had the opportunity early on to talk to Brandy at the Arts Commission, and they bring in great programming at times. And unfortunately, the Willard doesn't seat that many. And sometimes, to bring a large group or a big name group or an entertainer in, the price per ticket is too much. So what we want to do is make sure that we're an additional asset for the arts commissions, that we can provide some additional space and partner and team up so we can bring some more robust and vibrant art type entertainment activities to Idaho Falls.
Thanks again, Rob. Rob, we know this is a generous community, and we know that you've arranged a lot of important financial partners in this project, but I know the people of Idaho Falls want to likewise be your partners. And so I wanted you to take some time, since we're out of questions at this point, take some time to inform people about how they can become involved, how can they help you raise money? How can they make a donation? Who do they write a check to? How should they do it? Thank you.
Well, thanks, Greg. My last slide, maybe I can backtrack here a little bit and get to that last slide and give you some of those opportunities here. As I mentioned, there are some significant naming opportunities. This facility is a great opportunity that if there's a business here that wants to do some significant branding and be recognized in the community, I mean, we certainly have the whole mezzanine level where all your premium seats are going to be. Even though we have a couple proposals out there right now, that naming right is available. And then when you go out to the site, I would encourage you to go out to the site and look at the parking space area. There's 3 significant parking areas. It seems to me that would be a great place for a business that can utilize parking space to brand that with their brand. So we have, certainly some great opportunities there with some naming opportunities. I mentioned the loge boxes. The loge boxes get you up in the premium seat area. Premium seat area is where you really want to be. It's going to be up. You're going to have your own restaurant. You're going to have your own bar up there. It'll be a great area for entertaining clients, customers, rewarding employees. So certainly, and we, possibility if we split those 2 additional suites, we may have additional suites. So, and then, getting your name on a personalized seat if that's important to you, and then a personalized brick, because all those dollars are going to go help make sure that we have the amount of money we need to really construct this facility, take care of any potential change orders that might happen until we get it built. Even though we feel like we're on solid financial footing, we want to make sure that we have additional resources available. And then, as I mentioned, buy those season hockey tickets. And then the most important thing, I think, and when we get up and running here, when I said that we're going to get into this pre-operating services time frame with Centennial Management, we're going to have, we're going to reach out to the community and say, okay, what do you want to see here? What events do you want to see? And we want to get your input. And then when we get your input and we deliver these events to you, show up, participate, buy a seat, and bring your kids, bring your family, and have a great time. So, those are the ways I see the community can still help and support this facility. And then, be optimistic. You know as well as I do, probably more so, that since 2011 this has been talked about. Well, now it's going to be a reality, and it's going to be a great benefit for the community. And so, getting more information on this, we have brochures. Feel free to reach out to me at the Idaho Falls Auditorium District. 208-932-2729 is my number. Leave a message. I'll get right back to you. Certainly, you can contact Kevin Green, Paul Henderson. They've been very instrumental in getting me in contact with certain individuals, and they're doing a great job promoting this. So that's a little bit of an oversight, Greg, how I would say you could get involved.
So people could write a check to the Idaho Falls Auditorium District?
That's correct.
Okay. Thanks again. Rob, we really appreciate your time today. Been very informative. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I once again want to thank IE Productions for helping us with this broadcast today. I'd like to thank our producers, Cole Hammond and Gary Stewart. They're here helping us put this on. And again, our thanks to City of Idaho Falls Board Member Chad Hammond. Again, a program reminder, we'll be right back here as planned December 10th with Dr. John Wagner, the director of the Idaho National Laboratory. I think everybody's more or less paying attention to the fact that we're going to see a bright future related to the INL, and we'll look forward to Dr. Wagner's presentation on December 10th. Again, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.